Are you going to speak to us at all with regards to the cemetery business plan? I'd prefer to move this item 8A up then to presentations and delegations and deal with the gentleman that's traveled quite a ways to be here, as well as we have staff members. So please, I would like to move new business item 8A up under presentations and delegations. And Mr. McGinnis, if you could introduce our guest.
Actually, I'll defer that to our Director of Community Services.
Thank you. Please.
Your Worship, I'd like to welcome Eric Lees of Lees & Associates from Vancouver, who has done a lot of work with staff in our community here to prepare a business plan for the cemetery. And without any further introduction, Eric, please come forward.
Welcome this opportunity to talk about cemeteries with you in Council tonight. We have had the pleasure of working with staff and your community through the better part of 2013, and tonight are able to present our master plan. The project timeline looks something like this. After getting to know some senior staff here in late May, we entered into the background data review stage. We conducted a series of interviews with staff and stakeholders, as I was referring to. The draft master plan unfolded in the fall, and then through a series of rigorous discussions back and forth with staff, we reviewed the final drafts and are here to present today. So this is a process that, if condensed right down, probably took about 4 or 5 months, but as you can see, took a little bit longer than that. The primary objectives, Your Worship, were to identify service gaps and resources required, opportunities for improvement, of course, ways to modernize the cemetery system, adopt best and next practices wherever we can, develop a long-term sustainable financial model, which I'll spend some time on, and provide clear policy guidance regarding fees and charges. These were objectives that were primarily laid out in the request for proposal document that we've been coming on to a year ago, and we modify those, tweak those a bit through the course of the project, but we pretty much stuck to the plan.
Well, our first task, Dean, was to ensure that we had a good understanding of the various trends in how people were choosing burial or cremation. And here in Olds, that trend, it pretty much matches the Alberta trend. 65% of people are choosing cremation here. The death rate here, though, is a lot higher than the provincial average, almost double in some cases. And so, of course, that for people that know the community, they understand that's because the demographic here is older and hence the higher death rate. But what that also means is that for the old cemetery, the city-operated cemetery, and all the other cemeteries, there's increased pressure on those facilities to accommodate people who want to inter and memorialize their families and friends. Well, one of the first recommendations, and it's more of what we might call a soft recommendations, is the idea that the cemetery really needs to become much more of a meaningful place in the community. Renaming it a memorial park, for example, treating it as more of a park-like space is, I think, something that most people will find favor with and will recognize if they've been to pretty much any other cemetery that in the modern world. These are being treated as memorial areas, and anyone that's been to the cemetery knows that they are some of the richest places to learn about the community. The community narrative is told there, and especially the old cemetery there, and especially the older sections in sections 1 and 2 in the old groves, some of the pioneer headstones. Those are really rich, meaningful places, parts of the community. The cemetery itself is situated in the lower part of the basin that drains that part of the community, and there are a couple detention ponds there that are presently capturing the water. Those need to be pumped on a regular basis and ultimately tied into the stormwater management system to ensure that the graves do not have water standing in them, especially during the burial process, but for the rest of the year as well. And then one of the key messages that everyone needs to understand is that the older part of the cemetery is nearing capacity. eventually. And so we will very soon be moving into the new part of the cemetery, and there's really no built or natural landscape out there at all now. So the planting of trees and the creating of place, the place-making exercise itself will start brand new in that part of the cemetery.
In the long term, council and the community are going to need to engage in the philosophical debate around how the cemetery blends with the community and what the expectations are. Considering the trends in cremation, scattering gardens, and memorial plots and memorial walls, we're going to take a look at how we can align our heritage plan with the town, as well as our open spaces and trails master plan and its implementation. Just over the next couple of years, we're going to take a look at the very detailed plans of the expansion for the cemetery. And we want to make that more of a park and a place and a destination for the community to enjoy and celebrate, as well as a place to memorialize.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none then, I would call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. It seems to be the year of our extensive toolbox, and this is one more tool, and it's well done. Thank you.
Olds Community TV, your go-to channel for news and information in Olds, Alberta.